Hey Kevin, good afternoon.
Hey David, good to see you again.
Thanks for joining us today at the IAB booth.
Well, I'd love to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
We're very glad to be able to do this with you and on our podcast because of course you are one of the founding members of IAB Hong Kong. And so we're very thrilled and we're very proud to have you here. And actually, I think a lot of people would be very curious as to what you think of the progress that IAB Hong Kong has made over the past, 8 years now?
It's about 8 years ago. I think 8 years ago, a couple of us in the industry, myself, back then I was running a company called Pixels, and then ComScore Google together with SCMP and a few initial founding members. We actually had a vision and we wanted, a platform that would represent the digital marketing industry. We looked around in Hong Kong, there was nothing specific on digital marketing. We looked around in the US, we saw that there was, and it was literally 4 people in a room over lunch and said, why isn't there such a thing?
Yeah.
And so we decided that we would start it initially. That initial member base obviously grew to about 8 members in total that were the founding members. And we thought that if it was going to be an association, we wanted to be, the creme de la creme, and we gunned for the IAB. Yeah. And so, long story short, we actually did not start as the IAB.
Yes.
Because that was unavailable in this particular region. We initially started the platform, we were very determined. We started as the Hong Kong Digital Marketing Association, the HKDMA. A year later, after its inception, its formation, the IAB Hong Kong licensing agreement was made available to us, and we made that conversion. And so that was the impetus. It's very simple. It's a platform to represent the industry. It was tiny, it was growing. And we felt that by getting together, by forming a singular voice, that would be really, really beneficial. As to what the progress is, I wouldn't imagine that 4 people in a room over lunch would evolve to what it is today. Today we have over 100 active members. It's grown from strength to strength year after year. We're thinking bigger, we're doing better, and we're bolder.
Yeah.
And so, as a testament to that, last year was the inaugural launch of the IAB C23 conference. That saw over 500 people attended.
Very successful.
Very successful, lots of buzz, and that was our first try. Yeah. We also did the IAB Digital Awards last year, and that also was, overwhelmingly successful. And so, if I was, one of the initial founders, I would say I'm absolutely thrilled and happy to see where the IAB has gone. But really, I cannot and absolutely will not take credit, because the credit absolutely goes to people like you, and the hundreds of committee members who pour their hearts in to something that they believe. And for anyone who is unaware, no one here is getting paid to do the work.
We're all volunteers.
We're all volunteers. And as a matter of fact, every member pays a nominal membership fee to be a member. It gives them some very minor privileges like being able to attend events such as this. But yeah, I'm incredibly happy and very proud, and I hope that the IAB will continue to grow from strength to strength and be the voice for the marketing industry. I think that we've evolved beyond just digital marketing. Digital marketing is the key platform for marketing.
Yeah, you're very modest, but of course, you've over the years contributed a lot to the development of IAB Hong Kong, and we're very glad to have you back playing a very prominent role this year as well.
Thank you.
I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your new role, because obviously you've since moved on and you've joined SCMP as the COO.
Correct.
And this is a very venerated, iconic brand in Hong Kong, and you work with a lot of advertisers and brands. How do you approach working with advertisers and telling their brand stories?
Sure. I joined the SCMP about 13 months ago. I'm incredibly honored to take on this position. I think the South China Morning Post is one of the most prestigious media organizations around the world, and certainly in Asia and in Hong Kong. We're 120 years old. Although we call ourselves a news media organization, I actually tell our clients we are storytellers, and we tell stories every single day. for the last 120 years, 365 days a year, we go to print, we publish, we're online. So in itself, the South China Morning Post are storytellers. Sometimes they're great stories. Sometimes it's not so good stories, but we tell these stories. So we are the OG storyteller, if you may call it that. In response to how we work with clients, we've seen increasing amount of requests from clients in terms of integrating content marketing or storytelling into their marketing solutions. So and I think the approach that I've always gone to them is, number one, be authentic. Authenticity is super important. Yes, we all know no one lives on Peak Road number 1, all of us, and no one flies in a private jet all day long. So authenticity is important because it's relatable, and also have empathy. Just understand what's going on around the world. Don't be tone deaf. Sadly or unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that's not great happening in the world. And we don't want to be painting rosy pictures of the world to our target customers. And just be empathetic and be on the ground is what I tell them. So, and I think, you can't run away from those. And there was a session this morning about AI and how that will take on the world. But the key lessons is, whilst it may or may not, we don't know, some of the key values about just, being a person to another person, being relatable, being, telling authentic stories and just being on the ground. Those things are the ones that work the best.
Yeah. And I think the South China Morning Post it's not just a Hong Kong-based paper. I think it's obviously it has a global circulation and it's very widely known. And some might even say that it's a paper of record for large parts of Asia. But I think it's interesting that you were talking about the need to tell authentic stories, right? Are there some examples of certain campaigns for certain brands recently that you're happy with?
You're absolutely right. The SCMP is Hong Kong's newspaper of record.
Yeah.
We used to be called a newspaper. Many people still refer to us as a paper, but really we're a news organization.
Yeah.
35 million unique audience reached. Every month they come to the SCMP via the SCMP.com, and about 45% of our reader base is out of North America. I will draw to you a few examples, and maybe I'll use our example. So after I joined last year, we launched a marketing campaign to promote ourselves. Because it's been a while, and timing wasn't right, and when the markets reopened, COVID restrictions lifted, we said, if we want clients to invest in us, maybe we should first invest in ourselves. So that was truth number one. I can't be expected to go and tell clients to pour money into us and we have not invested in ourselves. So that's just really being realistic. Clients want to invest in media companies that invest in themselves. The second thing is, David, I've been in marketing for a very long time, but I was not a trained marketer. I had not been a client before. I had been very short roles where I played, a marketer role, but full P&L. And I basically, in the first 100 days of my role, I went around to see customers. And they asked, all my customers asked me one question. Kevin, who reads the SCMP? And so it got asked to me so often in every client visit that when I said we launched a marketing campaign for ourselves, it's a very simple campaign. It's called I Read the SCMP. And we had 6 personas, we had 6 real life people that portrayed our readership. And so, the 6 people were a Singaporean who lives in Hong Kong. His name is Gregory Van. He was from Endowus. He's the CEO. He was born in Singapore. He lives in Hong Kong. He runs a fintech company. So a very international, Asia-based audience. Yeah. We have a lady called Shalini Matini. She is Hong Konger through and through. But she is, she's of a, not a typical Chinese Hong Konger. She reads the SCMP. And then we have the typical personification of SCMP, which is expat reader.
Right.
We had Alan Zeman. Yes. And then we had a local Chinese, Steve Lam of GoGo X. We had a student. And so we launched a campaign because, frankly, it was a very simple answer to a question that I got asked every day, like, who reads it? My view is that, clients, maybe agencies, marketing can sometimes be taken a bit too far in terms of what you're trying to solve for.
Yeah.
In my case, I was just trying to solve for, here's the poster we put out, and these are people who read the SCMP. And so that was one. We've worked with a lot of banks recently. We've worked with a lot of financial services companies. We're starting to work with companies that run events out here in Hong Kong. Luxury watch and jewelries are big advertisers, and they're all starting to tell stories. But I see one thing that's common: it's authenticity. So whilst they will still do very strong above the line product, tactical, they are also now adding a layer of just telling stories.
To do it again. One word I'd use to describe the South China Morning Post:
intelligence,
persistence, understanding.
The South China Morning Post serve as a platform to host storytellings, to really amplify the importance of culture.
It has great journalistic integrity. It's renowned for its quality.
Media partnership plays a crucial role for us to tell the story of Hong Kong around the world.
I'm Edward Bell.
Alpha Lau.
Angel Siangle.
And I work with
the South China Morning Post.
And I think it's interesting that you say, who are the readers? But it is also, where do they read it, right? And of course, that means the distribution channels, right? And obviously, it's not just print these days, it's online as well. How do you balance between the priorities of a print edition versus an online edition? Is there a difference?
Absolutely, there is a difference. So the way the South China Morning Post looks at it is we are a news organization, and we will publish news and make our news accessible to the reader wherever they want it. So to give you some context, the SCMP publishes roughly 300 stories on a daily basis.
Wow.
Every day we have 300 stories. They could be some lifestyle stories, some news stories, entertainment, Hong Kong, China, and all that. And we do all that because we have a very simple mission, is to tell the international story of Hong Kong to the world, as well as to mainland China and all that. But, and so that is our central repository. And those stories online get published, obviously, on our website, on mobile, and on social media. And within social media, we have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're starting to get into some podcasting, YouTube with video, and so on and so forth. So then you go, but Kevin, you guys still publish a paper. How does that work? The paper today is about 16 to 18 pages on a daily basis. Now, there is no way you can put 300 stories in the paper. So the paper for us is a curated product from the lens of our editors. They will go, if you did not have time to read the 300 stories we publish, you pick up tomorrow's paper, our editors, through their lens, through what they feel is most important to Hong Kong and to our reader base, these are the stories that you absolutely need to read, and they get published in print. And so that's how we sort of, work around the different formats. Each plays a different role, and we're all very busy people, and we don't have time to read multiple publications, and so that's sort of how we play that role. From a marketing perspective, we feel each has a role. People love picking up magazines on weekends. They still do.
Yes.
It's a leisure read and all that, but let's be realistic, David. You're not getting your breaking news in the paper tomorrow. The breaking news happens on your phone.
Yeah.
We give you a push notification. You can read it. You know if that's a traffic jam or there's something important that you need to know.
But would you say that the print edition is still pretty important?
The print edition is important to certain types of target audience.
Yes.
It really depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
I've had readers come to me. I've had customers come to me and say, Kevin, the SCMP print paper is an absolutely must routine. Kevin, the Post magazine is my Sunday must do, right? It's a ritual to them, and they do that. And I've had readers who say, I haven't picked up the paper in decades.
Yeah.
So it really depends. We've chosen to obviously continue to maintain, our platform of products, including adding on social media, newer formats like videos on YouTube and so on and so forth. So it really depends on the audience, and from a marketer's perspective, we see it play one of the many roles. within our platform, and like digital will have a certain role, social, and then you have print as a part of it. It's very funny. It's no big secret. We had a luxury brand who launched a brand new product, and it's not just on SCMP. Globally, announced a set of new watches exclusively on the newspaper. It ran in Financial Times. It obviously ran in South China Morning Post. It ran in New York Times. And so I went to the client and I go, Mr. X, why have you only, ran this in the paper for your launch? They go, because we absolutely want people to know this. And in the digital and social world, in the endless scroll, my attention will be gone in 1 second or less. But with print, you're going through, you're flipping. They actually they bought 6 consecutive ads in every newspaper in a row. And so that really got their attention. So in some cases, like this luxury brand, they saw good use for it. What happened after is that they wanted to drive sales. So then it went digital. Right. It went social. Right. Click here, buy now. They started
with print.
The start of it, they had a big, massive launch, and they only bought a bunch of newspapers. And I go, newspapers? And they obviously have that creative format with 6 pages in a row.
Right.
So that was So yes, there is a role. I mean, digital has a role too. Print has a role. Tele has a role.
And print is something, it persists, right? So it's something you can hold in your hands.
And they wanted to make a statement. I wouldn't say print is the only thing that people make a statement on, right? A lot of people buy out billboards in particular areas in Hong Kong, in New York, in Times Square. It costs a lot of money, but people buy them out. Just to make a statement that we've arrived.
Earlier on, you mentioned technology like AI, right? Do you have a sense of, apart from AI, obviously, which everyone's talking about even here, what are some of the other emerging technologies or ways to tell stories that could be interesting that you might want to explore a little bit more?
Sure. I think AI is interesting, and I think it's the talk of the town. But I was just having a conversation backstage. If AI did all the creatives, and every single ad would look exactly the same, save for the logo. Right. It will always be someone walking by a beach and say, buy a phone, buy a car, buy something. So I think AI. I love one of the AI companies, the way they call it, the product. It's called Copilot. Right. You need to fly that plane. We will assist you, but don't think that you're gonna just wheels off and that plane's gonna fly. We shouldn't adopt that with AI.
Don't let it do your thinking for you.
Don't let it do your thinking for you, and it will assist you. In advertising, we sometimes have to do research. We have to do post editing, like the folks here later with this video. That may ease out a little bit, but that adoption has to be moderate and it needs to be unique. As to other technologies, I think that would be one of the big ones, but I think there might be opportunities for wearables, and in particular things like the Vision Pro.
Right.
I have never tried it. I've seen it online. Understandably, it's not the biggest, or it's the biggest, but it's not the greatest in terms of format.
It's still in its early stages.
It's still in its very early stage. What if that becomes a size that is reasonable? I look around, right? A lot of people wear glasses. I do. And what if this was something that I can tap and say, call Paul? On my wrist or something, it will call Paul. He shows up. I think wearables is an opportunity. You are on an Apple Watch, and it tells you many things already. So I think consumers aren't going to be resisting it. I think the issue right now is the format. So I think wearables could be interesting, AI, but
mixed reality.
But I obviously, I'm a big fan of storytelling. And yes, you're gonna call me old school for saying this, but just back to 101. Tell stories the way humans have always reacted to them. Our emotions get into play, right? And how the Thais tell the best stories. The commercials are like 4 minutes long. It's sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's sad, but it touches people. And so I think it's good old storytelling. I think those are principles like, just empathy, just being down to earth. They don't change.
Last question.
Sure.
What advice do you have for marketers as they face the future? What's your observation and what do you think they should watch out for?
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You know, I know people love talking about shiny new toys, as I call them.
Yes.
And it's great, right? But be realistic. You know, is that shiny new toy the right thing for your business?
Right.
Is that what you need?
Yeah.
You know,
Don't chase the trends.
Don't change the trend. Is that what you need? Does this shiny new toy work for you as a business? It may work for them, but it may not work for you. And it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you'll adopt another shiny new toy. So I think just be realistic. Just don't drink the Kool-Aid. Think about what you really need. I think that's number one.
Yeah.
I think number two is always be learning. Just be super, super curious is what I say. Yes, go try out the new Vision Pro. Go try out the latest toys. Go try out generative AI. But you know, and then go find out for yourself. Does it work for me? It may or it may not. And just don't be afraid. Don't break the bank. Don't lose the house, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're gonna try a few experiments, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, you've learned something.
Yes.
That at minimum, it didn't work for me. You know, good luck to the next guy. He may be smarter than me or do something, but I think that's super important.
Don't give in to FOMO, right?
Don't
give it a
give
bit
in
of
to
time, learn about it.
You know, you don't want to put everything in, and you don't want to be talking about it all the time because everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, but yet you also want to know and find out for yourself whether this is the right thing for me or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, just experiment a little bit. Give your team that creativity.
Yeah.
Let them learn and be curious.
Yeah, exactly. Kevin, thank you so much. This has
David.
been amazingly insightful. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the viewers will learn a lot as well.
Thank you very much, and it's always great talking to you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I believe that art is a universal language. We not only connect cultures, we also connect people. Hong Kong is the cultural hub of Asia. Culture builds based on the stories of people and our histories. It plays a role in the art ecosystem. We have an expanded art cultural landscape. We don't only have the international galleries as well as the local art spaces, but also we have world-class museums such as M+, Palace Museum, Taikund, Basel and the South China Morning Post. We both serve as a platform to bring together the people and the cultures to really amplify our stories to the rest of the world. My name is Angel Siang Le and I work with the South China Morning Post.